Hello there. Just coming from Holbrook. Get myself some lunch. I'm back on my property now. I didn't have a good reason to go to town. I just was cold and I wanted an excuse to run the car and be warm. Stopped by the post office, had a conversation with the post lady there. She's very nice. I feel like living in a small town has changed a lot of my attitudes. I mean, living near a small town. I drive 25 miles to get to work, and town is just past that. I have a lot of conversations with people at counters, and you get to see the same people as their job history progresses. I mean, the guy will be at Carl's Jr. and then he'll be at Speedway, and you already kind of have some familiarity established. If I go into a place and ask questions about employment or whatever, they know who I am. They've seen that I've been a customer. You hear all the ins and outs of how a place like this runs. You get to know who the local royalty is, and it's kind of neat to, like, live in a place that's small enough where you can just have conversations and shake hands with the people that are the movers and shakers for an area. And also talking to other people, I talk to the waitresses. They've worked at every restaurant, so they know all about management, and you know who owns what. But also, you're able to say, oh yeah, I know about that piece of property. Ophelia just bought it. And everyone knows who Ophelia is. There's a dozen names like that, at least, I mean, that I'm aware of. Plus, there's other hierarchies in town that I've got very little connection with, like the Mormons are still apparently very strong in Holbrook. Initially, they didn't colonize here back in the day because it was just too rough and tumble. Almost everybody here was a man. They were cowboys and cattle thieves, and all sorts of crime went on in Holbrook back in the day. So the Mormons moved on. They went south to better land. They went west to better land for the most part, but they've since still maintained a presence in Holbrook, and they still have a lot of power. And I'm only recently finding out. They went a little bit west between here and Winslow. They built a town called St. Joseph, and sorry, I'm thinking of a different town. This town I'm talking about between here and Winslow is called Joe City, and it is the remains of several Mormon towns that were built in what is basically the floodplain for the Little Colorado River over there. Just opens up a lot. I guess they were trying to make farm territory out of it, but the random flooding, would just be too much. So they kept losing their dams. And Joe City is the only one of those towns that survived. I find the Mormon religion super interesting, not because of what it is. I don't care about that, but the history attached to it. So many of these people, even if they are not practicing Mormons, they have history. They know who their ancestors were. I think that's really neat. Having a connection with something that is so genuinely American. The religion of manifest destiny. Um, and for them to still hold on to a lot of these traditions today, and some of them are very conservative in those traditions. You hear a lot of things about the various little towns here and all the different factions of Mormonism. The ones that people are typically aware of out of Salt Lake, the LDS is just the mainstream. But when they would do things like the government would compel them to change their rules, like say over multiple wives in marriage, for the sake of surviving, that church would then say, oh yeah, by the way, God told us that that's not the case anymore. Things are different now. And some of the other factions are like, well, fuck that. We're the real Mormons. Who the fuck are you? You sold out. And then they go and build small communities and they continue by their own rules, the thing that religion does. That's really interesting. You know, uh, in my faction, we wear funny hats. And those boots are sacrilegious. Totally different religion now. Anything you look at, any religion you look at like that, it does this, and it's really interesting to me. Not really relevant to what I'm talking about right now. I much more enjoy living in a near a small town in a place with no neighbors than I ever enjoyed living anywhere in the city. I don't have the facilities that I had in the city, but I don't have the neighbors. I don't have randoms looking in your window or kicking down your doors. Stepping over junkies is always going to be a sticking point for me. Not here.